Righty, morning. It's welcome back to me, NZ Marko at the Kustom. So, trying to decide what I'm going to work on today because I really would like to get some paint on that. But I'm going to have to try and get some filters for the mask. And it's just, I'm working right on Christmas time. I didn't realise till the other day that I'm out. I thought I still had some, I got a bag over there with filters and whatever for a mask, but yeah, no new ones. So I'll have to just see whether I can get some or not, because I don't really want to be spraying 2-pack without any filters, or without good filters. Especially when you're spraying, 3 or 4 coats, 2 or 3 coats. Because I'd like to put a coat underneath this, and then obviously do the chassis. And I wouldn't mind actually, not that I really want to use my new gun, but I wouldn't mind just testing it out. And it's a good place to test it out, because you don't see it. And it'll just give me a chance to dial it in, see how it sprays. But otherwise, I'm just trying to decide whether I should start putting the grill shell together and radiator and all that front sheet metal on that. I'm just trying to decide what I want to do today, whether I should just have a clean up, have a tool sort out, which I'm contemplating doing. Just having a bit of a sort out for this morning and then see where I go from there. Because I don't think many places are actually officially open today, because it's still technically a public holiday, but you got to get something done. So basically it's 27th today. Yesterday was Boxing Day, and as you know, the day before that was Christmas Day. So yeah, just trying to figure out what I'm going to do today. I'd like to paint that, but I would like to get new filters first before I attempt that. I haven't heard from the guy with the sandblast and stuff whether he's done those other bits and pieces, because I would almost kind of want to do that stuff at the same time, or at least have it so I can try and do some of it at the same time, if you know what I mean. Like, it wouldn't be hard to lay the springs on a couple of panel stands and whatever, and spray some of that stuff. Even the front axle I could lay on a panel stand, spray around it. Diff wouldn't be quite so easy. I'd have to prop it up on axle stands or something like that and spray that. But it could be done, and then it can be we can start putting it back together. But I think, probably what I'll have to do is just have it sort out. I've got a bit of crap everywhere. And then I would like to get that together as well. I'm just trying to decide what I want to do first. I think I'd like to paint, but like I said, don't have filters. So yeah, I think we'll have a clean up and we'll go from there, whether I get much else done today or not. So yeah, I think we'll just do that, see how the day goes. I might have to make a couple of phone calls, see if I can get some filters from somewhere, or a paint. I completely forgot about it. I thought I had a spare set, but no, I must have used them when I was doing the touch-ups on that stuff, I think. Can't remember. But anyway, I'm just waffling. We'll start cleaning up, I think. Right, morning guys. Next day. Actually, yesterday, just after I finished making the video, I got a phone call about this stuff, so I went and picked it up and brought it back here. And just getting the diff off from that, I don't know, it's actually coming right now, but I should have I don't know whether I pulled a muscle or just strained it or something in the shoulder. So I just left it for the rest of the day. Basically got in here and then got the Mrs. oldest boy in my hand to get the dip in here. Yeah, just after that, man, I was so sore and achy in the back. I just felt it. I was like, I'll just go home for the rest of the day. You know, it's still Christmas, sort of New Year's holidays at the moment here, but today is actually the first official day that the places are going to be open to get supplies here. Because this is a summer holiday plus Christmas here in the underside of the world, I guess you would call it, in New Zealand. Australia's is basically the same. Imagine a lot of that other places, you know, like South Africa and some of those places will be the same too when it's their summer. But today's sort of the first time that some of the supply places will be open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to etch these this morning, and then I need some 2-pack. I need some filters from the mask, just so for when I spray the black, because I'll end up spraying all this stuff now. I've got some decent filters, so I'll quickly flick this stuff with etch. It'll dry pretty quick. Just wiping down the dip and all these bits and just give them a quick once over, make sure they're clean. But just see, this is another sign, because the guy is convinced that this thing has only done 25,000 miles or 24,000 miles if you go back through the videos. Actually, I'll grab the speedo, see if I can anyway. In here, okay. He thinks this car's only done 25,000 or 24,500 miles. You can read that or not. You might better. I'm not sure. I'll better see when I look at the video properly later on computer screen. But I don't know, it's just all these signs point towards it not being that. And one is on the brake levers that go through the diff housing. They're leaking. And if you look at these springs, come around this side, they're really, really badly worn. They really should be replaced. But actually the whole lot, like they're stuffed, basically. They'll be okay for putting this thing back together and making it look half decent if he's going to trailer it somewhere and just tootle around it. But, I'll turn the camera on. Right, so if you can see in here, you know what's weird is in on this, like it's like an 1/8 of an inch or more. Like it's a good probably 2-3 mils of wear in. You can see it, and that's probably one that's not bad. You know, like some of these other ones are really heavily worn in. Really heavily worn in. And they're all like that. Even the front springs are like that. And unless they're meant to be like that, but I couldn't imagine they're meant to be like that. You know, but man, they are worn in. So like these springs on here have never been replaced. They've got just a touch. You can just see on them where they just started to leave a mark on them. And these here were sent away and re-tensioned and re-arced and all that sort of stuff on that. But these have never been touched, obviously. But man, these are really heavily worn. So that there has done more work than that. And I don't know, I can't remember because we never had a speedo for it. We never had the regional speedo. We had to found one and then we got it rebuilt. And it's been brought back to zero. So we don't know what sort of mileage that's done. But that's done more than this, you know what I mean? Like it's just all signs point to some of the stuff is really worn. It's weird. Like some of it's been maintained well, but like the springs are heavily worn. Like these joints feel alright, if you know what I mean. But these are lucky because they're just a pin. There's basically a bolt and a pin through there. So like that's, I guess, you know, hopefully the pin would wear and you just put another pin through it. And it's the same with the kingpins. It's just a bolt and a bush, you know, it's really simple. Where that's a little bit more complicated. But these here, Before I actually just cleaned off. You can still see the oil there, bit of residue that I haven't cleaned off yet. But this was sitting up the other way in the trailer when I brought it back. There was a big run stain on each side from just moving it around. Obviously the oil sloshing around it and just run out there. So that was why it was so covered in grease and oil and shit. Because yeah, they leak bad. And obviously just as it's running, it just runs out there, and obviously eventually all the shit sticks to it because there's so much oil coming out of there. But it doesn't, to me, look like it's very nice to get apart. Like you've got to get, I'm guessing you'd have to take all the brakes off it somehow. It even looks like, don't know whether, yeah, it's all riveted on. But I was hoping that, you know, maybe you'd get the drums and everything off, and then you might better push the pins out of these and slide these shafts out, and then replace those bushes. But he's gonna have to do that. I'm not spending the time just with the money and time frame. I'm not doing it. But I'll give it a good clean down. We'll get a coat of each on it, and then we'll coat a paint on it. You know, I'll have to give it a bit more of a scrub across here because you can see the handprints. We picked it up yesterday, but yeah, it shows how quick that flashed. But yeah, we'll give it a bit more of a scrub down, and we'll get some match on it, and then you'll have to go to town and get some paint filters for my mask. Righty, so I've got the one cap to tape up, and I think we're good to go. Oh, the other thing I want to do is get all the wheel nuts and throw them back on there. Some of them I left on when I got them sandblasted. I actually meant to put them all back on, but I forgot. So yeah, I'll wind all those on just to keep the threads clean, and then it'll give the nuts a coat of paint as well. Not that it really matters, but you know what I mean. I think we're short one because there's that's one that's heavily damaged, but yeah, we'll do that too. But yeah, we're basically ready. I took the old leather sock off that. It's pretty hammered. I will put it back on, but I just took it off to clean up around it and whatever. At least we can get some paint on there. I might tape this piece up just so it doesn't get paint on it, so it can slip backwards and forwards as it needs to. But yeah, we're just about there, kinda. At least I can flip this with some match, and then we can turn it over later and whatever. And I can go get some filters. But that's all right. So yeah, put tape on there, throw the other wheel nuts on, all these, and I'll quickly flick them through the sandblaster just to clean them up, and yeah, and then when we paint with stuff black, they'll be black. Anyway, we'll carry on. Righty, so I've reached all the stuff. I'll just turn all the lights and everything off. I'm about to bugger off and go get some more filters, hopefully. So yeah, depending on whether I get back here today, it's probably going to be too hot by the end of the day. It's meant to get stinking hot shortly, so it'll be too hot to paint. But I've got all this etched. And when I lifted it up, when it frickin', I wouldn't say it slipped off there, but it was going to roll off there, so I grabbed it and dropped it down. Did the water underneath. It was a bit awkward, but we managed to get most of it done. I probably should have cleared that off and give me a bit more space, but it's good enough. I actually just noticed that this here's fucking worn through. We're turning it over. Just noticed it's got a big frickin' wear spot on it, so that'll have to be replaced at some point. So I'll let you know in an hour. Like I said, I ain't going to replace it, but if he wants to replace it at some point, at least he knows. Worst fucking thing is I can't stop these bloody hubs from leaking without cleaning them out. I'll keep washing it off and it fucking keeps pissing shit everywhere. That's the biggest problem with it being cleaned up. Now it's got no, you know, that's all the shit's gone off it. But we've got all the nuts back on, apart from one obviously because it's hammered. So we need one left hand wheel nut, whatever size thread these are. Might be 1/2 inch, I think. fucking pretty solid. Might even be bigger than that. No, it might be 1/2 inch. So at some point he'll have to get a left-hand thread wheel nut. He might get more than that because a few of them are pretty chewed up, but they still undo. But there's one that's basically rounded off. Still undoes, but you know it's basically rounded off, so it's pretty ugly. I don't know where it is at the moment. It's in amongst some shit somewhere. But yeah, so it's all etched reasonably well, the best I could get it. If we have to give it a wee touch up later on, I can just do a little bit with a rattle can. I don't think it'll matter much in this stuff. Seems to bite into that paint pretty good. Like I painted quite a few bits and pieces of that, like some of the minor stuff with that etch, and then the other 2-pack paint over top, and it never gave any issues, so I know it works. So yeah, anyway, we'll catch us later on. We'll go sort some stuff out and yeah, maybe paint this stuff later on, or we might have to do it in the morning when it's a bit cooler because it's getting hot and it's not even freaking that. It's about 11ish, I guess. Might be quite that late, but in the morning. But it's getting hot quick. Now we're getting some sun. It's very blue sky out here. But anyway, we'll catch you later on. Righty. Morning, everybody. Welcome back to NZ Marko out in the Kustoms again. So it's unfortunately it's quite windy because I would have liked to leave the door open, but I've got this stuff sort of half spread out. I'm going to cover a couple more things that I want to cover, mainly the bright work. So I've got a few more old sheets and blankets and stuff like that I can cover stuff with. I've got most things covered that I want to, and I've separated this stuff out, and I found a nut that would fit the bolt for that spring pack. For some reason the nut had disappeared or had fallen off and was just being held together by the shackles for the back. So I've got a nut on that now, and it's less together. So I'm going to spray all the stuff black. I'll just have to double check, make sure the bits that were dripping with oil haven't dripped any more oil. When I paint this stuff, it's mainly the front hubs, to be honest, which is probably not a big. I can touch that stuff up if it happens to be an issue. If I can pull the hub off and clean it up and repack it and paint it before I repack it, if it comes to that. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple of coats on all this stuff up this way, and I can't do much else, so I'll bugger off and then come back an hour or two later because it's freaking pretty warm and we get a lot of hot winds. It's early in the morning, so it's still hot. And I'll come back over, flip all the stuff over, including the chassis, and we'll spray the other side of it. I'm hoping the dip I might be just actually lie against the chassis a little bit, spray that, and then sit it back down on the where the yellow tape is, and paint down the side of the chassis before I do that. Or paint down the side of that before I paint the other side of the chassis, and flip all this stuff over and try to get a couple of decent coats on. So I've just been mucking around with that new spray gun. I want to try it, and I thought this is a good place to try it where it doesn't really matter if it's not 100% perfect. It just gives me a chance to work out settings and stuff like that. Who's trying to message me? Ralfy, I think. I'll have a look at that in a minute. But yeah, so I got the gun set up with air pressure and all that sort of stuff. Alrighty, so I'm about to leave and just let this paint cure. But yeah, like I said before, that thing is an absolute beast. If you can get hold of one, I'd highly recommend it. You can't go wrong. I'd have to double check the, like I said, the needle settings. I won't screw with it at the moment because I don't want to. It's spraying beautifully. Like we'll flip this stuff up the other way. I should only have to mix up, probably mixed slightly too much there before, but not really. I mixed 2 lots of 2 to 1, 4 parts to 1 part to, I think I've put about 10% in it. Reduce, I probably didn't need to, but which would make up about, I don't know, about almost 600 mils, thereabouts. So I use probably almost 3 pots. It gets 2.5, 3 pots of paint to do roughly 2.5, 3 coats of most of the so yeah, I'm not obviously going to paint that again. So we're just going to paint the other sides of the springs and the front beam and the diff. And obviously flip the chassis over. So I'm going to bugger off and leave this for quite a while. Probably, I don't know, I have to have a check, but I'll probably be back to here later on this evening, or no closer to 4 or 5 o'clock. I'll leave it so it gets good and hard. I'm not too worried about the springs and bits and pieces, and I'm not too worried about the chassis either, but I don't want to mark it up if I can avoid it, if you know what I mean. I'll probably bring somebody down to help me turn it over. I can do it by myself, but if I drag it across, it's going to scrape the paint off, which won't be a biggie. I'll better just touch it, blow it up. Missed it on the side, but I'd rather not, if you know what I mean. The diff will just stand up, blow it, turn the chassis over, then just stand it over and just gently hold it up, and I'll just blow the underside of it a couple of times and lay it back down. But yeah, what an absolute beast of a gun. Yeah, best thing I've ever bought in a spray gun so far. Absolutely awesome. Anyway, I'll bugger off for a few hours, let this harden up. Alright, back down here, turn everything over. So I've got the diff just propped up like that, so when I've finished, I'll lift that down and sit it back on that tape onto that box. I'll have to move it a little bit. Obviously get a couple of coats on the side of this stuff. Springs, obviously not worried about those bits. That's the cup for the other part of that diff. Probably could do with a little bit. We might flick a little bit on it, we'll see. But yeah, we'll do the underside of that first with this, and then once we get a reasonable amount on it, we'll lie it down. Right, so done. Sounds like pretty. Like considering we've got just rough old springs and shit, you know, it laid it down pretty good. All things considered, you know, wasn't really trying to get a super laid out sexy, just good coverage and, you know, hopefully no major runs or anything like that. So it looks pretty good. Chassis looks pretty sharp. It's kind of one of those funny things, like it's a lot of this here I would have sprayed satin like I did that chassis, but because this piece here is painted, look at her sagging that I did. Yeah, I've poured it on a bit heavy probably at the end. That probably overloaded a bit. That's all right. We're going to end up sanding it anyway. There's a few scratchy marks and stuff in the steel, so we'll make it a bit better. But this will give us a good base to wet sand off and pour another couple of coats over later on. I was kind of expecting it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, because this is gloss and this is seen and it's over top of the tank, you kind of got to paint everything else gloss. It's not really avoiding it unless you masked it out and then painted it. But this would look a bit weird because this is exposed too, whereas a lot of that's covered. You don't really see the chassis on that. You don't really see the chassis on this either, but you do see this rear part because the guards there come there past it, whereas the this here, the valance covers it. The valance and the rear fenders, mud guards, whatever you want to call them, they all cover this, you know, so you don't see any of that. It's just a little bit of the spring hanger and whatever, you know, at the end of the day. Whereas this is a wee bit more seen, mind you. This was probably 4 times the fucking price too when it was new. So in theory it should be a bit more luxury, but a wee bit more high end. This was a wee bit more basic. You know, was probably I don't know whether would it be a direct competitor for Model T? I guess probably. Probably trying to aim a little bit better than a Model T back in the day. But yeah, so it's done. You know, I kind of expected to have to repaint that. I did pour it on a wee bit thick there at the end. Probably should have left it a little bit longer, but it doesn't really matter. I was expecting it to sand it, so it was kind of get everything else painted and we'll blow a nice coat over that at the end. You know, a couple of white coats later on. We're doing everything else. Yeah, but everything else is sweet. You know, it's not going to matter. It's basically make it look good, and we'll bolt it back together. So yeah, this will just get a light sand later on. I didn't mean to get it to run. I didn't think I did, but yeah, I laid it on a little bit heavy, a little bit quick. I probably should have walked away and left it for another 10 minutes, but I wasn't too worried because I knew I was going to have to come back and I think yeah, probably just get away with the wet sand, the good wet sand, and recoat it, I think, and it won't look too bad. It's kind of filled. It'll be interesting to see what it dries like apart from that. But yeah, we'll get a wee bit heavy there in the end. It's all good. It'll just help fill the marks in and the scrapes and grinds and whatever. Like we didn't do any prep underneath there, basically. Anyway, we'll catch you later on. We'll leave it till the morning, and the rest of it should be fairly dry by then. Hopefully it's had long enough that nothing sticks majorly. It's one of those things. It's a catch-22. I left it for probably 3 or 4 hours, probably longer than that. It was 4:30 when I come down here, so I'll probably be down here a good half an hour or more. So hopefully it's had enough time that I was able to turn it over without having too many issues, but that's the end of the day. It's only springs and stuff. So, well, anyway, we'll catch you later on. Cheers. Morning, guys. Don't kick the tripod. Welcome back to NZ Mopo at Kustom's again. So, well, it's probably still the same video. So we got all that shit painted yesterday. I'm about to demask the bits and pieces that I masked. And then we'll leave this for a few days. We'll let it harden up. I'll have to shift those springs back onto one thing, just to stack them close together, because I would like one of those panel stands to put the grill shower and radiator and bits and pieces together for this thing, Studebaker. But once I've unmasked that, I'm going to have a bit of a sort out. I'm not going to go crazy, but have a bit of a sort out. Put all that paint shit stuff away and whatever, and have a bit of a declutter, pick up a few tools, have a quick gather up, and then we'll get into the Studebaker. So basically what's going to happen with this is I think we'll assemble most of the front end. We've got most of the wiring that's in here, but obviously we need to sort out where it goes to. We need some little fittings and bits and pieces to make all this shit work for the lights and stuff like that. We're missing all the little terminals and bits at the ends because you just can't go buy them at a regular automotive electrical place. It's sort of, I wouldn't say it's obsolete to them, but it's more of a specialty thing. They just don't stock it anymore. So yeah, probably if they wanted it, they would order it off the same people as we would. So yeah, I need to work out what I need. Once we sort of get this thing together, yeah, we'll get the fenders on it, all those other bits and pieces, and work out where we need to go from there. So it'll be a couple of days mucking around with this sort of thing, try and get it as hooked up as much as we can. Still put oil and stuff in the gearbox and diff. We may do that because I've got it here, I think, somewhere. Yeah, we may do that, and then if we can get it close to firing off, we will. Just see how we get on with it over the next few days. But basically, we want to get all the front end together so I can work out what I need to get for this electrical stuff to finish things off with all the little terminals and ends and bits and pieces, and work out the last of the wiring, I guess. Get together, get as much bright work on it as possible. I'm going to do a little bit of mucking around with the headlights and bits and pieces. A lot of the fittings are all gone out of stuff. So we'll have to rebuild that to hold bulbs in. I've got it all, well, some of it over there. We'll have to go through it and work out what we need to do to make that all work. And then once we sort of got through that stage and I've ordered the bits and pieces we need for this, we'll jump back on this. This might be in a couple of videos time, obviously, and we'll bolt all the suspension stuff back together on this. Obviously, at some point, I'll have to go through and clean up the rest of the bits and pieces for all the springs and hangers and stuff like that. I'm just going to rattle can them because a lot of the bits and pieces, not all of it, but a lot of the bits and pieces will have to be replaced at some point whenever he decides he wants to put this thing on the road properly. And obviously he's going to have to replace the springs because they're all shagged too, really. I painted them because we're painting stuff and then it looks tidy. But yeah, they are really badly worn. All the leaves are badly worn. They basically need replaced. If he puts it on the road properly, he's going to have to replace them because they're sort of at that point they're getting thin where the leaves meet, and eventually one of them will break. But yeah, that's not my problem. But yeah, then we'll better go through all that sort of stuff. At some point we'll get the body up the right way, and we'll finish off the little bit of body work that's going to be done, metal work, I should say metal work, repairs, wear up a few cracks and whatever, and get all the last of that sorted out and get those braces welded in properly on the last of it. And then we'll have to put the motor box in, get that cleaned up and get that back in. I think Owen's going to come and help me. I think he's going to clean that stuff up so I'm not spending hours getting all the guns and shit off it. And then we can obviously tart it up and put it in. And then yeah, we'll go from there, get the body on, and then we'll cover the chassis and the motor with some plastic or something. We'll buy some cheap painting, clear plastic tarps like I use for this. We'll put that on the chassis and motor, and we'll put the body on, then we can finish the rest of the bodywork because we can get some bolts and bolt it down properly because I cut most of them, or some of them, and we can bolt that down properly, make sure everything's square, and then we can finish doing the rest of the bodywork. But that'll be a week or so before we get to do that. Anyway, I'll get this unmasked, and then we'll pull a bit of a straighten up, get some stuff organised again, and then we'll uncover this thing and we'll start mucking around with all the bright work. But this will only take a couple of minutes, but it might be an hour or two before I get back onto this after having a bit of a suss out and a clean up, and I'll sort a few tools out and whatever, and we'll go from there. So we'll see you shortly, but later. Right, just throwing that in there so I can work out which one had the short head and one had the long head. These two bolts. Now I know. It's cool. I couldn't quite pick which way it was which way I was sitting lower or not. Now I know, so that's cool. We'll lift that back out. We'll wind them in, and then do I need to Loctite them in? They should be okay. Yeah, I think they'll be alright. We can put Nylox, or I can probably just Loctite them in from underneath. If need to be, just put some, I've got some medium Loctite there, just so they don't rattle loose when we do eventually put it together. So yeah, and then I think I should be able to put that back in there, and I think I can get away with weaving that through with having this in. I thought I might have to leave it out, but I think I can do it in. Oh, yeah, because then that we can run over top of those screws, can't it? Needs me screws. I moved them, that's right, they're over here. I actually just about need, I think I actually need, I really need to get some flathead ones, don't I? Or tapered head. I think these are the ones I put it together with for a start off, just to see where we're at. Yeah, I think that's what I might have done, or we might have to get some, it's all the things that come back to you. Yeah, we'll have to get some countersunk ones. I think they'll be better. And then we can run this over top, and it's not going to interfere with the way things fit. Yeah, because they'll have to be more like, actually, I've got a heap of, just don't have to be long enough. Where are they? Got a heap of these. Are they the right thread? Don't know if they are or not. I think these are imperial thread with, I think these are metric. Oh, I have to check. Right, let's put the phone down from that. Right, let's thread back up on the tripod. I think these are the wrong thread. Sneaky suspicion. Oh no, they're the freaking right thread. These might work. These might work. I might have to put one of those long bolts in just to pull things into place, but I think these will work nicely. They'll be way better. Yeah. And then, don't know if there are any spring washers in here, but I really want some spring washers. I'll have to have a wee look, see if I've got some, and put them in. They'll work perfect, because that's the other thing I'm thinking of is there's no point having head sticking way out if this has got to go through here. And it's sitting way out and holding the bonnet out, or the sides out, top and sides of the hood, bonnet, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that'll work, that'll work. So that's cool. Right. Should be plenty of this, I hope. Gotta go around it, gotta go in and out a few times too, that's the other thing. I think I've allowed enough to do that. I'm hoping. Should be a bit extra. Hopefully it's enough extra. I can't see. I got about 6 inches. Hopefully it's enough to take up the gather. So it'll come down there and have a rivet in there, bottom. Hope it's enough. If we have to have it a little bit short at the bottom, I'll probably get more than 6 inches. It's probably 8 to 10. It might be enough. Try to allow a little bit extra, if you know what I mean, to go in and out. We'll find out. We're not going to lose a lot each one, but it's a bit, you know, you're probably losing, I don't know, 10, probably 3/8 of an inch, I would imagine. It's the easy way to test, you just put a mark on here and then put it through one and see how much it shifts back. And then you better see, because there is a few in and outs. Hopefully there's enough. We'll find out, I guess. Yeah. So we have to, you know, cruise it and say, yeah, you're going to lose, yeah, I don't know, hopefully only about 1/4 of an inch or so each one. Be nice. We'll find out. I'm guessing. You could put those bolts in first, otherwise I'm going to screw stuff up. We'll get it all on there and realize I haven't got them in. Right, I'll lift this back out. Hopefully the last time. Next time she should be in the permanent. Right. Shit side did I say was the tight side? Far side, I think. I'll check the video. I can't remember now. Right, I actually decided, I was obviously not, well, I could put some man strength Loctite on the nuts when we put it in, but I'm probably not even going to have to take these bolts out again. But just to make sure that they do stay there and they don't move when we're trying to do nuts up or anything stupid like that, just put a bit of full strength or high strength on these for when I wind them in fully. They shouldn't have to come out again, so, well, you know, me doing anything to them, like it's not as though it doesn't fit in there, you know what I mean? If I'm like that, so you just do it and lock tight those bolts into the frame. If they ever have to come out again, well, you know, worry about that then, but I don't see it being an issue. You're having to undo these. You can't get them out with the radiator in the shell, so now if you get the radiator out, you have to take it out and you want to undo these from the sidewall. Good luck to you if you know what I mean. I just would hate to see them come loose or whatever, you know, for some silly freaking reason. Or if somebody's trying to undo a nut from the underside and they decide they're going to turn or strip out or anything like that, at least the Loctite should stop them from moving and the nuts will come undone. Or whatever, you know, just thinking, you know, you don't want them to rattle up or whatever. They could do, you know, you don't want them to rub on that tanks for any particular reason, so just Loctite them in and then they're in. They don't have to come out here, you can undo the nuts from the bottom, so I don't think it's a big issue. So we'll slip that back in and we'll get a few of these started. I'll have to have some look for, I still haven't had a look for lock washers for them, but I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. And yeah, we'll get a few bolts in here and then we can, well, at least work out what we're doing from there. I'm not staying too much longer. Mrs. wants to go sort some stuff out for New Year's Eve. It's Friday today. I might spend an extra hour here through here tomorrow. And I think you'll have to work it out, but I'm not sure if tomorrow's New Year's Eve or if it's the day after. Washers and whatever on there and pull that all up tight, should be good. Pull it that way first. Might give us a little bit extra clearance here. And we'll be done. Put the felt through it and it's all ready to go on. Tiny little freaking radiator hoses, aren't they? So freaking small. Must have worked though. Must have worked. Mind you, it probably got no, I don't think we ever had a thermostat in them, so I'd probably just run a slightly smaller hose so the flow wasn't quite as large, whereas, you know, modern cars got quite a big hose, so you can restrict and open it, whereas this probably just had a constant flow running through. Probably took a little bit longer to warm up, but once it was warmed up, there's probably just enough flow to keep them cool, as long as everything was working efficiently. But yeah, that's that. And get some, I'll double check, see if we've got any washers here. If not, I'll shoot to the hardware, the engineers and grab a few and put them on tomorrow. Righty, so welcome back again. Now the other day I was meant to, when I went home, went to get some washers and some lock washers. I managed to get some little washers, but you got them off Dad's because when I went home that day I forgot to get some, and then I thought about it on New Year's Eve to get some in the morning, but this is when I went home on the Thursday, which was the day before New Year's Eve. Mrs. said, "Oh, I want to go out and have a poke around the coast a bit, heading back towards the sort of east-north that way instead of going back out around the other way. We've been out around this way a lot. I've been around there quite a bit too, but there's a few spots that she hadn't really been to over the years, so she wanted to go have a bit of a poke around for the day, so didn't end up coming here, and I was like, well, it's New Year's Eve, it doesn't really matter much, so we'll go poke around for the day. And I completely forgot about getting some washers, so I actually just shot around to Dad's. I thought it doesn't have any lock washers, but it's got plenty of these. So what I'll do is I'll just put some Loctite on, some medium strength Loctite on these nuts so they don't come undone. They don't rattle undone, but they can still be undone. Oh, trying to think, what should I? Oh, that'll be right, because you can always just give them a wee heat up with a wee blowtorch or something like that. That'll loosen the Loctite. Yeah, I'll put some Loctite on them. So I got these little washers. I think they're 1/4 inch ones, not 6mm. What these little bolts are, but they're close enough, if you know what I mean. So I'll throw a few of these on, and then I'll do a little bit more. I'm not sure how much more I'm going to do today, because it's still only the second. But I'm going to do a little bit. I want to get a bit of stuff together, so at least I can do that. And then Rachel wants to go to the beach later on, but she might come back here. I've got some old timber that I want to make a table for a computer. So yeah, so anyway, I get this done. Righty, so I've obviously got all these Loctited on. Now I've started to put this stuff on. I was going to put this over here and put it through, but I couldn't really get it through and fold the little thing down. There's another hole here, which I'll have to do as well. So that obviously holds it tight. So I just sort of started it from here because I wasn't quite sure where it was going to end up, and then I sort of moved it a little. I've left a little bit that will probably just tuck round or something. I'm not quite sure. I'll just cut it off. I just wanted to leave it a little bit long so it didn't fray or whatever. So yeah, we've got to slowly pull this, try and get this tight, and then pull it through. And then obviously here, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I could go over like that and put it on, which I may do if I've got enough length by the time I get the slack out of it. If I do, I will just tuck it underneath here. I'm guessing that's probably what was done originally, because there's no hole to put a little freaking bifurcated rivet in. So there's only just an old one, like I said, along here somewhere. To put one in, yeah, there, which is actually in behind that thing, so it could be bloody interesting to get in there. But anyway, so there's one here and one here. I might just end up putting the one down here, I think. So I don't think I'll get that in. Yeah, I'm not going to get in there to point turn it over, am I? I'd have to drill the thing right through. So you might just end up with one at each end. So yeah, because there's nowhere, obviously, like I said, to put in here to hold it if you had to cut it short. So we'll pull this tight, and then we'll see how much length I've got on the other side and go through. Because I was going to plan to put it through there, that's why I left it a little bit long, just so it would, hold in there and wouldn't fray so easy. But we'll just have to trim it off a little bit. I couldn't get it back through far enough and get it to close down properly. But anyway, we'll carry on. I'll get this finished, and then we'll see where we go from here. Because the other thing I actually want to do is on here, I'm going to probably do the same on the Studebaker. It's got these captured bolt bits in here. I hold the bolts in to bolt the stays on. Just to make life easier, I think that's what I might do on these. I might make up a bracket that can slip in here with all the bolts on it, so that it can stay there, and then you can actually put this other stuff on first before you bolt the mudguards on, and you're not having to try to get back in there to put nuts or whatever on. So I might make a bracket that we can slip in there that will hopefully stay in place, if you know what I mean. So I'll work that out later on. I'll use a bit of that 2mm panel steel, and then we'll put some bolts through it, or I might use maybe riv nuts. Put riv nuts on it and then push it in there and have it so it'll sort of hold itself in place. You know what I mean? like a plate, and so once one's in there or two's in there, like it can't move. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'll work on that. Because I just think it'll be an easy way to take these bits and pieces off without having to strip the whole front off. So if you ever wanted to take a guard off, you're not having to pull everything off to get them off. It just makes more sense. I don't know whether that's how they were originally, but it just kind of makes sense to me. But I don't want to put riv nuts in the actual chassis, so we might make a little plate that we can sort of really tight to get in there, and I'll just blow a bit of frickin' rattle can black on it and push it into the place and pull it up tight and then undo the bolts and hopefully, make it so it's really snug and maybe have a bit of a turnover on it, so when it pulls in there it sort of almost sort of locks itself in there. That can come out to be repaired or replaced if it needs to be, you know what I mean? And you're probably never going to have the front end off it anyway, so it's probably not going to make any difference, but it'll be good because, you better get them off, And if you've had to get in there, well, you can take it away apart the other way, if you know what I mean. Undo the radiator shell and pull that out, and then you could get in behind if you needed, if you couldn't ever get them undone for some weird reason. Right, we'll carry on here. Right, so I got that sorted. So obviously I had plenty. I wouldn't say excessively an excessive amount left over, but plenty. We did just tuck that underneath there. It's about all you can do without cutting it off and then trying to clamp it or whatever somewhere. I think that's probably the best way to do, just have the two buffer coated rivets right at the end. Like I said, I probably would have done these ones if they weren't covered by the holes, but I don't think anybody's going to notice that. It kind of is what it is. It's not as though, like on here, it's a bit of a different story because you're using them to hold it on. Whereas it's going back through the loops, it's just to stop it from coming out. Similar thing, different scenario. But that's cool. That's in there. I did have to file out one hole just very slightly because must have been just a wee bit much copper or something in there. And it was just a little bit tight. I just had to run the file just gently through it and just take it out because I couldn't get the end of it through very easy. I did try try a bit and trying to pull it through and whatever, but it would just keep screwing up the end of it. So I was running there with the file just a little bit, just up and down, just to slip it through a wee bit easier. It was the only one that was a wee bit tight to get in or get through. So that's cool. So as long as we don't have to take that apart, we're fine. But that's good. That's ready to go on when we're got some of the other stages together. But I think I'm going to go get this wood. It's an old fence that I want to clean up. There's a lot of palings on it that are about that wide, and it looks like it's been old hardwood. So I want to make a computer desk out of it. We'll try anyway. It's just something different, and I don't know. I could oil it or something like that, but I might, because it's quite weathered, I've got a bit of that old clear there that I might spray on it. We'll see. Just so it's got a decent surface on it because it is quite rough, and the boards aren't terribly thick, so I want to leave as much meat. So you better see the texture in it, but almost be like a river sort of table, it's got a lot of, so I could put quite a bit of clear on it. We'll see. We'll see how we get on. But that's probably a couple of days down the track before I put any near it, but I might do that. Because I've got that radiator cover bit from the computer itself for the PC, so I want to actually sit that. I want to make a little ledge to sit that on it too. But it'll be about 800, which is like, I don't know, maybe about 2.5 foot each sort of square. If you imagine, probably not a lot bigger than this, but then it'll come out about the same distance in this, and then I'll put maybe a bit of a curve in it or something like that, just so you can set the screen in here. I've only got a 22-inch screen at the moment, which is not very wide. It's sort of about as wide as the table, not quite as wide as the table. But I think this new one's quite a bit wider. It's sort of like half a screen again, or a bit more. But yeah, I just wanted to build a little desk in it and then have a step. Put the tower on, and I want to have a couple of hideaway cubby holes. Put the cables in the back, like a little piece that you can lift up or hinge up, put stuff in there, and I might just have another little cubby hole in the front that I can just lift up, and so I will have like a little hole in there that I can just put like USB sticks and stuff in, but just flip it back down so it doesn't look like there's anything there. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I want to do. We'll see. Yeah, I might go get that wood. I'll grab a trailer and get that wood and drag it back here.